Our story begins inside of the main control center of the Invisible Hand flagship, as General Grievous is waiting for the Jedi, Kenobi, and Skywalker, along with Chancellor Palpatine, to be escorted up here to meet with him. And as Grievous is pacing around the controls, moving angrily past droids and Neimoidians, trying desperately to keep the ship stable, one console just keeps on drawing Grievous's attention. The security cams were still focused inside of the Spire throne room, and Grievous just kept looking into the cams, shaking his head in disbelief and in anger. He could see the body of Count Dooku, and his head was no longer a part of it. The whole scene was rather pathetic, and it made this entire mission look so much more pointless. What should have been a guaranteed victory with the Chancellor in their grasp has now completely turned upside down, and Grievous has grown tired of it. He wanted Palpatine dead. He wanted the Republic and the Jedi to live in constant fear of him. But for reasons that were never truly disclosed, Grievous was ordered to keep Palpatine alive. Dooku had said that these orders come from Darth Sidious directly, but where was this Sidious right now, Grievous wondered. In the most important mission of the war, this Dark Lord refuses to show up and help bring them to victory. And with Dooku dead, Grievous had grown tired of listening to the Sith. He controlled the greatest droid army this galaxy has ever seen, and it's time for the Republic to truly see what he is capable of. And moments later, the doors finally slid open, and Grievous would greet Skywalker, Kenobi, and Palpatine. Grievous was surprised to see how young Skywalker is, but his fearless reputation quickly shone bright as the Jedi used their astromech droid to distract the room, throwing lightsabers right to the Jedi. And so while the two Jedi were distracted fighting with the Magna Guards, Grievous stomped over to Palpatine, grabbing him by the collar of his robes and dragging him over to the window overlooking the battle outside. As for Palpatine, he'd had just about enough of this game. He just needed the Jedi to help him get out of this collapsing ship. He didn't expect Grievous to kill him, but he was ready to move away in case a lightsaber was ignited. And so as Anakin and Obi-Wan discarded of the Magna Guards and now flanked Grievous, he told them that today their precious Republic begins its final days. He then picked up a Magna Guard staff, stabbing it through the window. When Palpatine realized what Grievous was doing, it was too late. Grievous's clawed hand dug deep into Palpatine's back, and as the window exploded open, Grievous flew out into space, and he brought Palpatine with him. And as Palpatine was sucked into space, he tried to create a force bubble, but it was over. The freezing cold void killed Palpatine in seconds, marking the end of the Sith without anyone ever realizing it. Grievous only laughed as he threw Palpatine away to never be seen again in space, and he made his way to the escape pods, ejecting all of them. And inside of the ship, as the emergency windows closed to stop Anakin and Obi-Wan from being sucked out into space, Anakin had to hold on to his console to stop him from falling over. This entire mission was a failure. His mentor, the man he saw as a father, the only person aside from Padme who truly listened to him, was gone. He'd failed. All of the flying through the battle to barely stay alive, moving through this ship, fighting Dooku, murdering Dooku in cold blood. All of it for nothing. All of it a failure. The sounds of the battle outside, the sounds of emergency alarms and rapid beeping inside all went quiet in Anakin's mind. He was staring at a reflection of himself, the man the galaxy called the hero with no fear. And in the most important mission of them all, Anakin failed. He was no hero. He stared at himself in anger, but finally he was snapped out of it as Obi-Wan was yelling at him to hurry up and help them. Anakin's mind centered back on the here and now, and he realized the ship had been split in half and was entering the Coruscant atmosphere. Anakin quickly sat down to fly this half ship, but he was distracted for far too long for any sort of safe landing. The ship was going down hard, so Anakin did everything he could to guide it away from the city and instead turned the ship to the industrial sector. As Obi-Wan and R2 sat near Anakin, he told them to brace for impact, and soon the ship slammed hard into the ground, carving through old buildings and abandoned infrastructure as the ship was ripped apart and a dislodged piece of metal slammed Anakin in the back of his head, knocking him out cold. Eventually, Anakin awoke to the sounds of emergency crews frantically yelling. Fire hoses were spraying around, droids were helping move the rubble, along with the Jedi led by Mace Windu. Anakin was still in the pilot's seat, and R2 sawed off the stuck seatbelts as Anakin crawled out of the ship, alerting the Jedi to his location. Windu ran over, asked if Anakin was alright, and then he asked about Palpatine, and Anakin quickly remembered all of it. He closed his eyes as they stung with tears, and Anakin said that Grievous killed him. For the smallest moment, Anakin saw Windu's perfect resolve and his always calm composure break into a look of small panic, but it faded immediately, as Anakin also told Windu that Dooku is dead. So this battle reshaped the entire scope of the war. Both leaders were dead, and the psychotic, power-hungry Grievous was on the loose. Anakin asked about Obi-Wan, and Windu hesitated a moment before just saying that Anakin will be taken back to the temple soon to be looked at. Anakin scrambled to his feet, and through the overwhelming emergency sounds, he saw a stretcher being hurried onto a Jedi shuttle, and Anakin used whatever strength he had left, running over to the shuttle, getting inside right as the door closed, and inside he found Kit Fisto, Shaak Ti, and 2 Jedi medics standing over Obi-Wan's heavily injured body. Anakin didn't know what to say, but Fisto said he is alive. Barely alive, but alive nonetheless. And Anakin learned that Obi-Wan was in a coma from the crash, and Anakin blamed himself for this, just like he blamed himself for the death of Palpatine. And so as Obi-Wan was brought to the temple and hurried inside of the medical rooms, Anakin sat by his side, hoping for him to wake up, and for hours, the two of them were alone. Anakin initially was going to go see Padme, but with the sudden death of Palpatine and Dooku, it would not be easy for her to find any excuse to avoid the upcoming Senate meetings, and in fact, as much as she missed Anakin as well, she needed to be at whatever was going to happen from here on out. And as Anakin was with Obi-Wan, watching him now float inside of a Bacta tank, Master Yoda slowly walked in, and he just stood next to Anakin as the two of them looked up at Kenobi. Anakin soon exclaimed that all of this was his fault. He wasn't strong enough, smart enough, quick enough, or powerful enough to save Palpatine, and he wasn't good enough of a pilot to save Obi-Wan. Yoda was waiting for Anakin to open up on his own, and so now he told Anakin that he has learned so much about being a Jedi during this war, maybe not all the right lessons, and where other Jedi have, maybe rightfully and understandably, lost their way or pulled away from battle, Anakin has given up so much of his own personal peace to be the hero that the galaxy has needed. Anakin didn't know what to say. He failed. What didn't Yoda understand? But Yoda said that beyond all of this strength in battle, he will, of course, always still find failure, and he will come to learn that the greatest teacher failure is. And Yoda also assured Anakin that none of this is his fault. Grievous did this, the Sith did this, and with Dooku gone, soon there may be once again peace that Anakin can find beyond the fog of war, and together they closed their eyes. The dark aura that had surrounded Coruscant, surrounded the galaxy for years, at least since the war, seemed to be dissipating, as if the Sith themselves were gone with the death of Dooku. It was good, and as they stood here, Anakin said that Palpatine and Obi-Wan were like a brother and a father. He can't lose Obi-Wan like he just lost Palpatine. And Yoda told Anakin to have faith in his former master. He is strong. He will survive. Across the galaxy, General Grievous was on Utapau, pacing back and forth in the makeshift general's quarters, waiting for Darth Sidious to finally contact him. Sidious had told Grievous to come here when the Coruscant battle is over, but now there was zero contact whatsoever. This was extremely unusual for Sidious. He never missed a meeting of any sort, and Grievous began to genuinely get worried. He wasn't worried that Sidious could be dead. That seemed impossibly unlikely. Instead, Grievous was worried that Sidious was coming to find him and eliminate him for killing Palpatine, which broke the orders that Sidious had given to him. Grievous growled in anger, and he told himself he has nothing to worry about. He's slaughtered countless Jedi. He can take on this Sith Lord if he has to. But he couldn't truly convince himself of this, and so Grievous soon decided to move operations immediately elsewhere. He told his armies to prepare for a jump to Mustafar, and he then told Gunray and the other separatist leaders of this new mission. Utapau is not safe for them any longer. Mustafar is far more secure and hidden from any Republic spies, and so the thousands of battle droids here on Utapau would begin preparing for a move to Mustafar, where new plans would be formed. And Grievous felt lost. For this entire war, He thought that escaping the grasp of Dooku and Sidious would feel good, that he could take the galaxy, but instead, he was paranoid that Sidious was just waiting to eliminate him, and he was now responsible for the entire droid army. Grievous forced himself to embrace this new role, and he oversaw the evacuation to Mustafar with a forced confidence. On Coruscant, with Palpatine's death, Mace Windu and a team of Jedi Knights were investigating a lead from before the attack on the planet. Windu had discovered underground tunnels that led from the 500 Republica building, the huge royal building where the most wealthy and politically powerful people in the galaxy lived, and the tunnels led deep into the industrial sector to a largely abandoned lair of some sort. But today, while Windu and the others were investigating this lair, a communications console began beeping with an urgent contact request. Windu examined it, and the request was coming from Utapau, but when Windu answered, there was nothing on the other end. And right away, Windu contacted the Jedi Temple, saying they must investigate the source of this immediately. Yoda took the message, telling Windu that he and Skywalker will go. Anakin initially would hate the idea of just leaving Obi-Wan like this, but after some convincing, he decided it would be a good idea to get off planet for a while and clear his mind the best way he knows how, in battle. So he and Yoda would soon board a Republic cruiser, and as preparations for takeoff were being made, Anakin asked of the state of the Republic without Palpatine. He still hadn't even been able to speak with Padme, and she was extremely involved with the effort to replace Palpatine. Yoda said he does not know much, but he trusts the Senate to make the right choice, even without Palpatine's influence, as there are still many good senators. And Anakin was really hoping to find Grievous here, so he could destroy him, once and for all. And above Utapau, Grievous and his separatist fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving a silent, empty space where the Republic ship would emerge less than a minute later, just missing Grievous. But in their investigations on the planet, the people of Utapau would tell Anakin and Yoda about the thousands of battle droids that were just here under Grievous's command, and the leader of this planet overheard exactly where they were going next, Mustafar. And so Anakin and Yoda would request a fleet of Republic ships, as the final attack of the war would soon be getting underway. If Grievous was on Mustafar, then it would be the final planet he ever goes to, Anakin thought to himself. Many hours later, General Grievous was inside of the control room on Mustafar with Gunray, Wat Tambor, Sandhill, and the rest of the remaining leaders. They were sorting through different areas of funding, different production areas for more droids, and all of the remaining droids in reserve around the galaxy, when one of the alarms in here began to go off. Grievous growled with an angered frustration as the battle droid commanders above the planet told Grievous that a Republic fleet has just come out of hyperspace. Grievous ordered his fleet to destroy them. He had thousands of battle droids in his fleet above space, and hundreds more here on the surface. They were ready for battle. And as Yoda stood on the bridge of the lead Republic Venator, Republic fighters, led by Anakin, poured out of the hangars to take on the swarming Vulture droids. The Separatist fleet unleashed a huge barrage of turbo laser fire, igniting the space above the lava planet with flashes of green and red energy. Commander Appo was working directly next to Yoda, and they directed his clone pilots into tight formations. ARC-170 fighters, V-Wings, broke from the main fleet, engaging the enemy in chaotic fights, their engines leaving bright trails as they weaved between Separatist capital ships and swarms of droid fighters. Explosions were felt all throughout space, as both Republic and Separatist ships began to rip each other apart, and Anakin flew around one of the capital ships, taking out the turrets, flying through explosions, as R2 chirped with excitement. Anakin raced down, destroying a squad of droid ships chasing down clone pilots, and this battle was giving him all the distractions that he needed. The Republic fleet pressed forward, concentrating fire on the massive Separatist dreadnought leading the defense, and under Yoda's guidance, the Venators executed a pincer maneuver, forcing the Separatist ships into tighter quarters. Appo helped to coordinate the fighters to ensure the clones gained air superiority, and meanwhile, the Republic bombers targeted enemy hangars and engines, crippling their mobility. In the chaos of this battle, Anakin Skywalker and a gunship with a squad of commando clones broke through enemy lines, weaving through a hail of blaster fire and debris as they descended down the fiery surface of Mustafar. Yoda told Anakin to go handle Grievous, as the battle in space will be fine without him. And on the surface, The clash between the Republic and Separatist forces quickly mirrored the fury of the planet itself. More and more clones broke through enemy lines, landing on the surface, and the harsh environment with rivers of molten lava, plumes of ash choking the air, created a brutal battlefield close to the horrors of Umbara for many of these men. Clones advanced through the jagged rock formations, the narrow walkways, over the molten rivers, and battle droids emerged from hidden areas, blasters lighting up the volcanic landscape. The clones pressed forward, as many of them were shot down into the lava, and they were supported by the ATRT walkers, navigating the terrible terrain. Explosions rocked the battlefield as thermal detonators, artillery shells sent molten debris raining down on both sides. Amid all the chaos, Anakin infiltrated the Separatist facility, and as the door swung open, Grievous stared at him with his hands behind his back. He told Skywalker that he will meet his end today, just like his friend Palpatine did. And Grievous pulled out all 4 blades, spinning them through the floor as sparks flew all around them. Anakin held his blade right above his head, mirroring Obi-Wan's stance, as he was doing this for his master. The duel would begin as Anakin stabbed forward, flipping over Grievous to strike towards his back. The general blocked the attacks, the sound of their strikes echoing through the secured building as the battle outside could be heard. Grievous attacked with ferocity, heavy strikes pushing Anakin back to the balcony doorway. The two of them moved through the facility and out onto a series of narrow walkways above the rivers of flowing lava. Anakin used the environment to his own advantage, leveraging his agility and using the Force to maneuver around Grievous's constant attacks. The duel spanned across different platforms, and Grievous was tearing through obstacles in his path, as Anakin countered with his own speed, and soon threw a wave of lava up at Grievous. The cyborg was hit hard, his armor became damaged, but his strength did not wane, and the battle reached its climax on a crumbling platform above a massive lava flow. Grievous lunged at Anakin with all 4 blades again, but Anakin, drawing on the Force, disarmed 2 of his arms in a flurry of strikes as their platform continued to teeter towards the lava. Grievous retaliated, using mechanical strength to push Anakin with one hand, and Anakin tumbled to the edge, lava threatening to consume him. But the Jedi's determination prevailed. In a final, decisive moment, as Grievous thought he had victory, Anakin was able to leap over Grievous, delivering a powerful slash that cleaved Grievous's head right off, and Anakin jumped away as the platform collapsed, barely landing safely back on the balcony. With Grievous defeated and the Separatist forces in disarray, Anakin ran into the heart of the battle, and with Yoda guiding them in space, the Separatist fleet was soon ripped apart for good, as the Republic could secure final victory on Mustafar. The clones would mop up the remaining droids, and the squads of commando clones would find the Separatist leaders, finally arresting them, ensuring that the war would end here, once and for all. As everything came to an end, Anakin would learn that Padme had led the Senate to elect Mon Mothma as the new Chancellor to oversee the end of the war. And when Anakin got back to Coruscant, he ran as quickly as he could into the temple medical facility, but he found it was empty. Anakin's heart sank. Obi-Wan had to be dead, and was likely being buried in the temple as he stood here. As Anakin felt this dread washing over him, the familiar voice of Obi-Wan told Anakin that he's not going to get rid of him that easily. And Anakin had never been happier to hear Obi-Wan's sarcasm. Before long, Ahsoka would reach the temple with Maul in custody, and she would choose to return to the Order as a Jedi Knight, helping Anakin be promoted to Jedi Master on this same day. Padme would work closely with Mon Mothma and a handful of other senators as they worked to restore balance and peace to the galaxy, and eventually she would give birth to the twins as they were set to become Jedi, as Anakin was staying in the Order and Padme was staying in politics to help stabilize this chaotic galaxy for many, many years to come. And folks, that's our video for today. My main goal, something I just really wanted to do, was like a kind of all-out battle on Mustafar itself. I thought that was a really fun idea, so I just went for it, had fun with it. Fighting Grievous, not mirroring, but replacing the battle with Obi-Wan on Mustafar with Grievous and Anakin. A fun idea, and meanwhile just a whole surface battle above the lava. Something we haven't necessarily seen. Of course, we see Mustafar a bit in the Clone Wars, so I wanted to do that. But yeah, you can play Mustafar, I think, on the older Battlefront 2, so what if there was a battle there? That'd be fun. That's what we pursue. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Grievous killing Palpatine by just dragging him out into space rather than a stab through the back. Palpatine's expecting a stab in the back, so instead, we're freezing him and, suffocating him in space. Anyways, appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.